Hello, and welcome to today's episode of your favorite English learning podcast, where growth meets mindset and language becomes your superpower. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or even defeated while trying to learn English, this episode is for you. Today, we're diving deep, not into grammar or vocabulary, but into something even more powerful. Motivation. We'll explore 10 game-changing strategies that will help you stay focused, inspired, and committed, even when the journey feels heavy. Because let's be honest, learning English isn't always easy, but with the right mindset, it becomes possible, even exciting. So grab your coffee, put on your headphones, and let's turn your struggle into strength. One strategy at a time. This is more than an English lesson. This is a breakthrough. Let's begin. Strategy 1. Remember your why. Let's start with something simple, but powerful. Because when learning English feels hard, when your motivation disappears, and you feel like giving up, the one thing that can pull you back is this: your why. Why did you start this journey? Was it to travel, to get a better job, to speak with confidence in front of people, maybe to understand movies or to prove something to yourself? Maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe you're learning English because deep down, you believe you were meant for more, that this language will open a door to the next version of you. Whatever your reason is, hold on to it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Keep it close. Because motivation fades. It always does. But purpose stays. Purpose pulls you forward even when it's hard. And when you reconnect with your why, you give your brain a reason to keep moving, even when your heart feels tired. Let me ask you this: what happens if you stop learning English? What opportunity do you lose? What version of you never gets born? What dream gets delayed or forgotten? Now flip that. What happens if you keep going, even slowly? What if you keep learning one new word a day, one sentence at a time, one mistake at a time? What future becomes possible then? This is why the strongest learners are not the smartest. They're not the most talented. They're the most connected to their why. They don't just say, "I want to learn English." They say, "I need to do this because I have a future waiting for me on the other side." Your why is personal, it's emotional, and the more you feel it, the more unstoppable you become. Here's a simple exercise. Take 5 minutes today and write a letter to yourself. A letter from the future. Imagine you're already fluent. Imagine you've already reached your goal. And now you're writing back to the version of you who is struggling today. What would that future version say? They would probably say something like, "Don't stop. I know it's hard. I know you're tired, but please keep going, because this life, this confidence, this freedom, this version of us, it's worth it. You're not wasting your time. You're changing your life. And one day, you'll look back and thank yourself for not quitting." That's your why speaking. So when motivation feels far away, don't look outside for it. Look inside. Go back to your why. Let it remind you of who you are. Let it pull you forward. Let it light the fire again. Because no matter how hard it gets, Your reason to begin is still alive, and your reason to continue is even stronger. Strategy 2. Make it small. Keep it daily. Here's something that no one tells you when you start learning English. You don't need to do more. You need to do less, more often. One of the biggest reasons people lose motivation is because they try to do too much. They think they need to study for an hour every day, memorize 50 new words, finish an entire textbook chapter in one sitting. And when that doesn't happen, when life gets busy or their brain gets tired, they feel guilty. Then they stop. Then they say, I'm not consistent, or I'm not good at this. But the problem isn't you. The problem is the size of the task. The secret to staying motivated when learning English feels hard is this: make it small, but make it daily. Let me give you an example. Imagine you committed to just 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of speaking out loud. That's it. It sounds too easy, right? But here's what happens. You remove the resistance. You trick your brain into starting. And once you start, those 5 minutes often turn into 10 or 15 or more. But even if they don't, you still win because you showed up. You stayed in motion. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds motivation. You're not relying on big moments. You're building a habit. And here's something powerful. Your brain loves patterns. When you do something daily, even for a short time, it becomes automatic, natural, normal, like brushing your teeth. You don't think about it, you just do it. Imagine if learning English felt that way. This approach is called minimum viable effort. It means you commit to the smallest action that still keeps your identity as a learner alive. It doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to move you forward, even by 1 inch. So instead of saying, I need to study hard today, say, I'll listen to English for 5 minutes while I eat. Instead of, I'll write a full essay, say, I'll write 3 simple sentences in my journal. And here's the best part. These small actions compound. Over 1 month, you might only do a few minutes each day. But over a year, that's hours and hours of real growth. And more importantly, you stayed connected to the process. Motivation isn't about being excited all the time. It's about showing up when you're not. And the smaller your commitment, the easier it is to keep your promise, even on the hard days. So today, lower the pressure, shrink the task, but protect the habit. Because success doesn't belong to those who do the most. It belongs to those who keep going every day, even when it's small, especially when it's hard. Strategy 3. Fall in love with the process, not just the goal. Let me ask you something honest. Why are you learning English? Most people would say, to get a better job, to move abroad, to speak fluently. And that's beautiful. Goals are important. Dreams give us direction. But if you only fall in love with the goal, you'll lose motivation every time progress feels slow. That's why this strategy matters so much. Fall in love with the process. not just where you're going, but how you're getting there. Because let's be real, fluency takes time. There will be weeks where nothing feels exciting. You'll feel like you're repeating the same words, listening to the same dialogues, struggling with the same grammar. And if you only care about arriving, that's when motivation dies. But if you learn to enjoy the journey, the small wins, the funny mistakes, the aha moments, that's when English becomes a part of your life, not just a goal, but a lifestyle. You don't have to enjoy every single moment. You just have to enjoy enough moments to keep you going. For example, do you enjoy English music? Watch lyric videos and sing along. Do you love cooking? Watch recipes in English. Do you love stories? Read short English novels or listen to English podcasts with interesting narratives. Make English fit into your world instead of turning it into a chore, because learning doesn't have to feel like school. It can feel like curiosity, like play, like connection. And when you fall in love with the process, something beautiful happens. You stop counting the days, and you start making the days count. Another tip: celebrate the small joys. When you understand a movie line without subtitles, celebrate that. When you say your first full sentence to a stranger, celebrate that. When you write your thoughts without using Google Translate, celebrate that. These are not small. These are moments that build your identity. Remember, the person who enjoys the gym shows up more than the person who just wants abs. The person who enjoys the process becomes the one who finishes the race. So today, look at your English journey and ask, what parts do I already enjoy? What parts can I make more fun? How can I turn study time into me time? You don't have to force motivation. You just have to create an environment where it naturally grows. And that happens when you stop waiting to be fluent and start enjoying the person you're becoming along the way. Fall in love with the effort. Fall in love with the rhythm. Fall in love with the tiny moments that no one sees, but that are shaping you. Because when you enjoy the process, the goal becomes inevitable. Strategy 4. Track progress you can feel, not just numbers. Let's talk about a hidden reason why people lose motivation when learning English. They're only tracking the numbers. Number of words learned, number of grammar exercises completed, number of hours studied, and while those things can help, they don't tell the full story, because real progress? You feel it before you can measure it. Maybe you didn't learn 20 new words today, but you understood an entire conversation on YouTube without subtitles. That's progress. Maybe you didn't finish a full lesson, but you replied to someone's message in English without translating first. That's progress. Maybe your pronunciation still isn't perfect, but you no longer freeze when you speak. That's progress too. Here's the truth. Numbers are helpful, but they don't always capture growth. Growth is sometimes emotional, subtle, internal, and when you only track the external things, it's easy to feel like you're stuck, even when you're not. That's why this strategy is so powerful. Track your progress in ways that make you feel proud, not just productive. Start a progress journal, not for grammar, not for perfection, just to record moments where you noticed change. I understood a joke in English today. I asked for directions in English, and they understood me. I watched an interview and only needed subtitles once. These are real wins. And when you write them down, you train your brain to see progress instead of pressure. You remind yourself, I'm moving forward, even if the mirror doesn't show it yet. You can also create a voice diary. Every week, record yourself speaking for 1-2 minutes. Talk about your day, your thoughts, a memory, then save the file. After a month, go back and listen. You'll hear it, your fluency, your flow, your confidence. That's real. That's powerful. That's proof. Another idea? Create before and after moments. Take a text, video, or podcast you didn't understand 6 months ago and try it again now. Notice the difference. You don't need a certificate to see that your brain has leveled up. You just need awareness. Because here's the truth. We grow most in the areas we pay attention to. So don't just look at how many words you've learned. Look at how much braver you've become. Look at how much more natural English feels. Look at how you've shown up, even when it was hard. Motivation comes from movement, but movement needs recognition. And when you celebrate progress, you can feel, you create energy that lasts. So today, stop chasing numbers. Start collecting moments. Because language is not just a system, it's a story. And your story is already unfolding, word by word, moment by moment. You just need to notice it. Strategy 5. Learn from emotion, not just rules. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time something in English made you feel something? A movie scene, a quote, a line in a song, a story that moved you. Did it make you pause, smile, cry, think? That moment, more than any textbook or grammar drill, is what fuels real, lasting motivation. Because language is not just about rules, it's about emotion. And when learning English starts to feel cold, robotic, or lifeless, that's when your motivation starts to fade. Not because you're not capable, but because you're disconnected from the heart of the language. So here's your next strategy. Learn through emotion, not just repetition. Grammar has its place, so do vocabulary lists and structured lessons. But if you want to stay inspired, you need to feel something. You need to connect English to real life, to your heart, to your memories, to your future. Watch movies that make you feel goosebumps. Read stories that reflect your own journey. Listen to songs that remind you of love, heartbreak, strength, freedom. When you hear a quote that moves you, pause. Write it down. Say it out loud. Ask yourself why it touched you. Emotion is a shortcut to memory. When something makes you feel something, your brain doesn't just store it, it anchors it. That's why you remember that English phrase from a sad scene in a film more than the one you repeated 30 times from a flashcard. Here's a simple habit. Every week, choose one emotional English moment. Just one. A quote, a song, a speech, a dialogue. Break it down. Learn the words. Repeat the rhythm. Ask, what is this really saying? And why does it matter to me? Over time, you're not just collecting language, you're collecting connection. You're attaching meaning to words, and that meaning creates motivation. You can also use your own emotions. When you're sad, write about it in English. When you're grateful, record a voice message to yourself. When you're excited, speak out loud. Don't wait until you feel fluent enough. Use the language to express what's real, even if it's messy, even if it's broken. That's how native speakers learn their first language, with feeling, not fear. So today, ask yourself, how can I bring more emotion into my learning? What part of the language speaks to my soul? And how can I stop learning about English and start living through it? Because you don't just want to speak English, you want to feel alive in English. And when you do, that's when motivation becomes unstoppable. Strategy 6. Surround yourself with the right voices. Here's something you probably already feel, but maybe haven't put into words yet. Learning English becomes 10 times harder when you're surrounded by the wrong energy. If you're constantly around people who doubt your progress, who say things like, English is too hard, you'll never sound native, or why are you even trying? Then it's no surprise when your motivation disappears. Because your environment isn't feeding your fire, it's extinguishing it. So here's a powerful truth. You don't just need better study tools. You need better voices in your life. Voices that lift you, challenge you, remind you of your potential when you forget. And those voices, they don't always have to be in person. In fact, some of the strongest support systems you'll ever find come through your screen. Follow English creators who speak with clarity and kindness. Listen to podcasts that teach and inspire. Watch videos of real learners who share their progress, not just their success. Join communities where people are growing just like you. Share your thoughts, ask questions, encourage someone else. Why? Because motivation is contagious. When you hear someone say, I was scared to speak English too, but now I do it every day, something inside you wakes up. You think, if they can, I can too. That's the magic of the right voices. They don't just teach you, they remind you that you're not alone. On the flip side, be careful with voices that feed self-doubt, the ones that compare, criticize, or create pressure. Even if it's your own inner voice, you might be telling yourself, I'm too slow, I'll never be fluent, or this is taking too long. But here's the truth. Those are not facts. They're just thoughts. And the more you repeat them, the more they shape your reality. So today, choose better voices, inside and out. Replace, I'm terrible at this, with I'm improving every day. Replace, this is so hard, with this is helping me grow. Replace I can't with I'm still learning. Because motivation doesn't come from pressure, it comes from connection. And when you surround yourself with voices that believe in progress, you start to believe too. Here's a quick challenge. Unfollow one negative source today. Subscribe to one English creator who motivates you. Send one encouraging message in an English learning group. And write down one kind thing to say to yourself this week, because the right voices build momentum, and momentum builds confidence. So when learning feels hard, don't just change your method, change your atmosphere. Surround yourself with sound that lifts you up, because sometimes it only takes one strong voice to remind you, you've got this. Strategy 7. Redefine what success looks like. One of the biggest motivation killers in language learning is this false idea of success. You know the one. It says, fluency should be fast, perfect, and sound like a native speaker. And if you don't sound like that yet, you must be failing. But here's the truth that saved me and many others. Success in learning English is not a finish line. It's a feeling. It's not just about speaking perfectly. It's about speaking bravely. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary. It's about expressing your thoughts, your personality, your story, even if it's with basic words. That's success. That's connection. That's what English was created for. So here's what I want you to do. Redefine what success looks like for you. Is success having a deep conversation with someone for the first time, even if you make mistakes? Is it understanding a podcast without stopping every few seconds? Is it ordering food at a restaurant confidently? Or is it simply showing up for yourself every day, even when it feels like you're making no progress? All of that matters. All of it is valid. You get to define your wins. And the more you define success based on effort instead of perfection, the more motivated you'll feel, because success becomes something you can reach every day. Think about this. A child doesn't wait until they're fluent to celebrate. They celebrate when they say their first word, their first sentence, their first joke. Why do adults forget how to do that? You don't have to wait for fluency to feel proud. You just have to recognize how far you've already come. Here's a simple but powerful shift. Instead of asking, "Am I fluent yet?" ask, "Am I getting better at expressing myself?" Instead of, "Why do I still make mistakes?" ask, "What did I learn from today's mistake?" Language learning is not about being flawless. It's about being fearless. It's about the courage to show up, speak up, and keep going, even when your voice shakes. So create your own version of success. Success is you reading this in English and understanding it. Success is you listening to this episode and connecting with the message. Success is showing up again and again, because once you redefine success, failure loses its power. You're no longer chasing someone else's idea of greatness. You're living your own version of growth. And that version? It's more than enough. It's honest. It's strong. It's yours. Strategy 8. Rest without quitting. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for your motivation is stop. Not forever. Not because you've failed, but because you need to rest. That's right. Rest is not weakness. It's strategy. Most English learners hit a wall, not because they're lazy, but because they've been pushing too hard for too long without taking a break. They force themselves to study every single day, then feel guilty the moment they stop. But here's what I've learned. If you don't allow yourself to rest, you'll eventually burn out and quit altogether. So here's your reminder. It's okay to pause. It's okay to step back for a day or two or even a week, as long as you remember this. Resting is not the same as quitting. Think of rest like a battery. When your motivation feels low, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're drained. And what do we do with empty batteries? We charge them. We don't throw them away. Sometimes the best way to recharge your motivation is to do something completely different. Watch a movie in your native language. Go for a walk. Journal about how you're feeling. Sleep. Laugh. Let your mind breathe. The truth is, growth doesn't always happen during the action. It often happens during the pause. While you're resting, your brain is processing. Your memory is organizing. Your energy is healing. And when you come back, you'll feel it, the clarity, the lightness, the quiet hunger to try again. That's the power of rest done right. But here's the key. Rest with intention. Say to yourself, I'm not quitting. I'm just pausing to take care of myself so I can continue stronger. Write it down. Own it. Let your rest become part of your strategy, not your shame. You can even build rest into your routine. Maybe every Sunday is your English free day. Maybe you take a short break every 3 weeks. Maybe after every new topic, you give yourself one full day to do nothing related to learning. This doesn't slow you down. It makes you last longer. And let's be real. English is not just a subject. It's a life skill. You're not learning it for a test. You're learning it for a lifetime. So it's okay if it takes time. It's okay to grow slow. Just don't disappear. Don't confuse exhaustion with failure. Don't give up when your body's simply asking you to rest. So today, ask yourself, do I need more effort or more recovery? Can I give myself permission to pause without guilt? Because rest doesn't stop your journey, it strengthens it. And when you learn how to rest without quitting, you never run out of motivation. You just keep coming back, stronger every time. Strategy 9. Visualize the future you're creating. When learning English feels hard, when your motivation drops and everything seems slow, it's easy to forget why you started. That's when your mind starts whispering, maybe this isn't worth it, or maybe I'm not good enough. But here's a truth that can bring your fire back. You are not just learning English, you are building a future. And sometimes the best way to stay motivated is to clearly see that future before it arrives. This is called visualization. It's more than just daydreaming. It's a tool, a habit, a powerful practice that rewires your brain and refuels your energy. So here's your next strategy. Visualize the person you're becoming. Close your eyes and picture it. Imagine yourself speaking English confidently in a meeting, ordering food while traveling without any fear, laughing with friends from other countries, watching a movie and understanding every word, teaching, leading, living with your voice, your ideas, your presence in English. Feel it, see it, hear it. Walk in that scene like it's already real. Because your brain doesn't just respond to reality, it responds to belief. And when you visualize clearly and consistently, your actions start to match that belief. You start studying, not just because you should, but because your future self is depending on you. You start listening, not just for practice, but because it moves you one step closer to that life you're imagining. Here's how to turn this into a habit. Every morning, before you begin your day, take 2 to 3 minutes. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Picture yourself speaking English with clarity, smiling while using new words, standing tall, being understood, being respected, believing in your voice. Then ask, what can I do today? Just one small thing that brings me closer to that version of me. Write it down. Let that vision guide your actions. Let it become your motivation on days when your emotions want to give up. You can also create a future you board. Fill it with images, quotes, even vocabulary that represents your English dream. Put it where you can see it daily, not as pressure, but as promise. Because when you forget what you're working toward, even the best method feels meaningless. But when you remember, when you can feel it, suddenly 5 minutes of practice has a purpose. One conversation becomes sacred. Every mistake becomes part of your transformation. The most successful learners are not always the smartest. They're the most connected to their vision. And every word they learn is a brick in the foundation of that dream. So today, stop staring at where you are. Start looking at who you're becoming. See it, believe it, and then build it. Strategy 10. Keep showing up even when it's not perfect. Let's end with the most important truth of all. The secret to staying motivated is not perfection. It's persistence. It's not about getting every word right or learning everything quickly. It's about showing up, even when you feel slow, tired, distracted, or unsure. Because the truth is, fluency doesn't happen in a single day. It happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It grows in the middle of your doubts. It builds strength in the middle of your mistakes. And the only people who ever become truly fluent are the ones who kept going. So if today feels hard, that's okay. If you made a mistake yesterday, that's okay. If you missed your study time this week, guess what? That's okay too. The journey doesn't end because you had a few bad days. It only ends when you stop coming back. The learners who succeed are not perfect. They're resilient. They come back after failure. They laugh at their mistakes. They speak anyway, even when their accent isn't polished. They listen, they try, they fall, they rise, and they repeat. So here's the final strategy. Be the kind of learner who shows up no matter what. When you don't feel ready, show up anyway. When your confidence is low, speak anyway. When it feels like no one sees your progress, keep learning anyway. Why? Because you see it, you feel it, and you're not doing this for applause. You're doing it for freedom, for growth, for the person you're becoming. You don't need motivation every day. What you need is a reason to return, even when it's not fun, even when it's not perfect, even when you're not sure it's working. That is what separates dreamers from doers. That is what transforms a goal into a reality. Here's a simple mantra to carry with you. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to keep going. Say it out loud. Write it on your wall. Whisper it to yourself on the days you feel like quitting. Because English isn't just a language you're learning. It's a strength you're building. So give yourself credit. You've come this far, you've listened, you've practiced, you've tried, you've learned, you've grown, and you're not done yet. You're still here, you're still becoming, you're still showing up, and that, more than anything else, is what creates transformation. So when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's messy, when it's slow, keep showing up. Because the finish line isn't where success begins. Success begins every time you choose to continue. You made it. 10 powerful strategies to help you stay motivated, even when learning English feels hard. Now, you don't just have tips, you have tools, real practical tools to use every single day, whether it's redefining success, resting without guilt, or reconnecting with your why. You've learned how to keep moving forward even when your energy is low. So take a moment, breathe, be proud. You didn't give up, you showed up, and that's what separates those who wish from those who become. If this episode helped you, share it with someone else on the same journey, and remember to subscribe so you never miss a dose of motivation, growth, and real English practice. You're not alone. You're not behind. You're building something powerful. One word, one day, one brave moment at a time. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and above all, keep showing up.